World-class wrestler, Olympic gold medalist, great movement. I don't have any gas concerns because Cejudo, I mean, every fight he fights is like a 5-round fight, and this is going to be a 3-round fight. So I don't have any concerns about him. The thing that worries me about Cejudo is his hesitant fists. It just seems like he's a little bit more hesitant to pull the trigger, whereas I'm looking at Merab. Talk about no gas concerns. This dude, I don't know if he has a gas tank. This dude's just he's like an electric fighter, man. He charges up before you don't have to worry about gas. Um, Unbelievably tough too. I mean, I think I saw one fight. It looked like he went out, but the dude was able to keep going, stay in it. Goes running around just eating punches, and ended up winning the fight, I believe, in the second. Um, what stands out to me though is he is very high grappling. As in his last fight, he had 49 takedown attempts. But did the dude have 49 takedowns? No. Why? Because I feel like his grappling gets sloppy. And I think against a guy like Cejudo, I think that's going to be a big problem. He's either going to have to slow it down and really take his shots or keep doing what he's doing. I just think Cejudo is going to be able to defend it. And looking at Merab, he's super decision heavy too. I don't know if this goes to full 3. I just don't see him outworking Henry. And I mean, absolutely, that's the way. If he is going to win, that's what he has to do. I just don't think his wrestling is up to par. And Henry Cejudo is, I have right now to plus 180. So he's a pretty nice underdog. He just came back out of retirement, had a fight, lost. So if this was his first fight out of retirement, I'd be more worried about the rust. I feel like he got that rust knocked off. He's ready to go. Merab on like an 8-fight win streak or whatever. Dude's been absolutely lights out. I think this might be a road bump for him. Both of these guys are fantastic. I really like both of these guys. I'm going to side with Henry. Looking at their split right now, it's about a $40,000 purse at the moment. Over on Pickett. Bet percentage, I've got 16% of the bets and only, was that about 6? It doesn't even show his percentage because Merab has got 93.8%. So about 6% of the money on Cejudo. I don't know. I think I'm going to take the chance. I'm going to take the chance on him. What do you think, Bobby?
This is a tough one for me, but at the same time, I have to remind myself that this isn't 2020 anymore, unfortunately. And it's
Yeah.
not even 2019. And so, there's a lot of talk about Kamaru Usman being the CEO of EPO. I really think that's Merab Dvalishvili. I really think that guy's the CEO of EPO. And it's funny that you mentioned how he set the record for takedowns in his last fight against Peter Yan, RIP Peter Yan, a guy I'm pretty high on, but we know how that goes. Anyway, so you said 49 takedowns in that fight, correct?
Yep.
Do you know how many takedowns, and you don't get credit for this, I'm just bringing it up to showcase a point. Do you know how many takedowns of those 49 Peter Yan defended?
Probably like, what, 38 of them?
38 exactly. So he defended 38 takedowns. So what does this mean? You're asking yourself this at home. You're scratching your head. Bobby, what does it all mean? The numbers, Mason. What do they mean? It means this. Khabib Nurmagomedov got a lot of crap. Islam Makhachev gets crap for being boring fighters who just, crawl on your legs, crotch sniff if you're Jorge Masvidal. Excuse me, whatever you want to call it. Crotch sniffing, leg humping, whatever. Here's the point, though. Yes, they attempt a lot of takedowns. Islam Makhachev, Khabib, those guys attempt a lot of takedowns. They also succeed on a lot of takedowns. Khabib set the record before Merab with takedowns against, I believe it wasn't Gleason Tebow. It was some other guy. I forget who it was right now off the top of my head. But the point is, when he set the takedown record, he actually had takedowns. Merab is an entirely different vein of grappler where, yeah, he will get the takedown and he'll get credited for it and you'll get up. But the problem is he literally point fights, it seems like, instead of like karate boxing point fighting like a Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He's like the grappling equivalent of just
Yes.
point fighting. Like, you get up from a takedown after 5 seconds, it doesn't matter. He still scored the takedown. All the judges know is that it's secured, it counts. So all they see is that 49 or whatever the final number ends up being, and he still wins the fight. When he fought Jose Aldo, it was a decision, like all of his wins except the one over Marlon Moraes was. That was
Yeah.
his only KO against a guy who had already had a shot chin by that point. He had no chin left. He was getting KO'd left and right. In the words of McGregor, a gust of wind and he does the chicken dance. But Merab did 15 takedown attempts against Jose Aldo, didn't secure a single one, did not register a single takedown in 15 attempts, but he was the busier guy over 15 minutes and took home the unanimous decision win. So it's just ironic that we've come full circle to you don't know what you have until it's gone. Coming up, Habib and Islam were the guys who were boring. They never finished fights, even though they finished quite a few fights by sub, KO, TKO, whatever, very active, exciting guys. And now Marab's coming up through the ranks of 135 at bantamweight, and the dude is just point fighting by grappling, and it doesn't matter if you get up after 5 seconds. He's literally got the cardio to keep point fighting and keep just throwing strikes. Once again, doesn't matter if the strikes are doing damage. It doesn't matter what percentage of force they're hitting with, et cetera, et cetera. He's winning fights purely based off just being busy, just
Yep.
throwing, just volume is all it is. And it's insanely boring. It really is. And there's a lot of you out there who don't like to hear it. I'm sorry, just like you don't like living in your mom's basement, you're not going to like hearing that Merab is a boring guy. And don't get me wrong, I can appreciate the skill and the drugs it takes to be able to have that kind of pace over 15 minutes, to be able to attempt 49 takedowns and not even secure, even half of those and still look like at the end of 15 minutes of 49 attempted takedowns and God knows how many significant strikes and just strike attempts, and you don't even look like you barely taken a breath. I get that it is difficult. I get that it does take skill, et cetera, and I do respect that. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend to you like when I hear that there's a Merab Dvalishvili fight that I'm salivating to watch it and tune in. I'm just not. So all this to say, Henry Cejudo is a legend, as he will be quick to tell you himself. He's an Olympic gold medalist, for Christ's sake. I mean, come on now. So Henry Cejudo is a great fighter, and he got out at the right time when he first retired in 2020. He could have rode off into the sunset. And yeah, as time went on, he falls victim to what everybody does and the what ifs and the speculation starts about, well, if he would have kept fighting, he would have lost. This guy would have beat him, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. But eventually over time that goes away because it's just speculation. It's just like when people talk about, well, John Jones would have lost to this guy or whatever the case may be. Point is, Cejudo got out at the right time in 2020, and then he should have just rode off into the sunset after he beat TJ Dillashaw like a scolded dog. And that guy, the real CEO of EPO, once again, the drug that keeps getting mentioned, TJ Dillashaw, pissed hot for EPO, and he had already lost the belt to Cejudo by knockout to add insult to injury. And so Cejudo defended the belt once, rode off into the sunset. He made a mistake, I feel like, by overplaying his hand, and he thought the UFC would chase him as a result of that retirement, and they didn't. So when he realized how quick they were to move on and how they essentially, didn't chase after him after he retired after beating Dominic Cruz in 2020, he couldn't just stay away. He couldn't just accept the fact that, they weren't going to give him what he wanted, be it increased pay, super fights, whatever it was, I forget at the time he was looking for when he retired after beating Dom. They weren't going to give it to him, but he wasn't content. So he came back last year in May, and it was controversial apparently, and it was once again a boring fight, and it's been his only fight since 2020. So pretty big gap here in fighting. 3 years that he went, and then last year lost a decision to Aljamain Sterling. So I think he should have just stayed retired is what I'm getting at. I think he should have just let it go. Should have just enjoyed the illustrious career and all the, accolades he had already had as an Olympic gold medalist, as a, bantamweight champion who made a successful defense against another legend in Dominic Cruz, that type of thing, flyweight champion, also another accolade he's had. But Aljamain Sterling is a teammate and training partner, very close training partner of Merab Dvalishvili. So Aljamain just got done training and preparing for Cejudo last year and beat him, even though it was by split decision, and that was a five round fight, so 25 minutes, and he beat him. Now Dvalishvili is, like I said, a training partner and close friend of Sterling. So this is the second time that their camp has had an opportunity to prepare for and get used to game planning for Henry Cejudo. And Aljamain Sterling does not have the gas tank, does not have the effective cardio, does not have the pressure, et cetera, all the accolades and attributes that Merab has. And I hate to do MMA math, but this is pretty close math here, considering the guys are from the same gym and all that. But if you have basically a new and improved and even better version of Aljamain Sterling fighting this same fight against Henry Cejudo, I think it's going to be a more convincing win. And it's going to be by decision. Let's not kid ourselves here. And it's going to be a boring, ugly fight, probably with another high takedown attempt. But I just can't really say anything with confidence to really get me on board with Henry Cejudo. From a personal standpoint, would I love for him to win? Hell yes, I would love for him to win and end this nightmare that is, EPO cardio takedown attempts and, pitter patter little strikes and all that. I would love for it to happen. But the theme of this card as we continue to go on is going to be, I try not to let my personal feelings about fighters get in the way of my realism and my betting analysis and technical analysis, etc. And this is going to be the first fight where my heart wants Cejudo to win, but I'm not going to put my money, and I'm not going to want you to put your money on Cejudo. And even though Dvalishvili's at minus 225, Cejudo's at plus 185, and Dvalishvili by decision is a minus 135, none of these are going to make you money. I'm not going to gas you up like everybody else and try to act like it's going to be a moneymaker. This fight, it's pretty ugly. It's pretty bad. But, I mean, what can you say? What can you do when you pretty much know what the outcome's going to be? So, Dvalishvili by decision at minus 135. He's a minus 225 on money line. I mean, to try to take the edge off, I'm almost laughing suggesting it, but hey, why not? Plus 1,600 for sub. I wouldn't hate it. So I wouldn't hate it. Plus 1,600 by sub. KO TKO plus 550. Muller Marias is the only guy he's KO TKO'd. Could he do it to Cejudo? Cejudo's 37. Cejudo's not got a lot of miles, so I can't really say that. Can't really say his, chin's been tested. But I wouldn't call you absolutely out of your mind if you even wanted to go Dvalishvili plus 550 KO TKO just to kind of take the edge off that minus 225 money line.
Breaking down this fight, I could not tell. I think this is the only one that we've covered that I could not tell if what I was saying and when I was picking my person, if I was really believing what I was, if my heart was dictating what my head was thinking. Because in my head, I just see it like Henry's so much better wrestler. The other dude, exactly what you said. Rob's just so much volume. I think that Henry can, just like I said with Hernandez, just control the fight. I don't know if that's right at all. Because everything you said, I absolutely agree with too. I think this card is going to be absolutely excellent.
Yeah, it's going to be a really tough fight. It all goes back to, I think Henry Cejudo will defend the takedown. I do believe and agree he is the better wrestler, but the bottom line is at the end of the day, it's not going to matter. It's not going to, don't just like Peter Yan didn't get points for defending 38 takedowns.
Right.
Call it a flaw, call it you hate it, whatever. unfortunately, right now, as it stands, that's how the judging criteria is determined. And it only matters how many takedowns you get and you attempt. Defending takedowns awards no points, unfortunately. And though I personally disagree with that, especially when you defend 38 damn takedowns out of 49 attempts, I feel like you should get something at least. That's how the rules are set up right now. It's not changing. So that's just where Henry's going to find himself. He'll probably defend 50 of the 60 attempts, but all judges are going to see is 60 attempts, and he got like 10 of them. So,
right. And I heard somebody say this quote. I forgot who it was, but that it's at the end of the day, it's not a wrestling match; it's an MMA fight. So that's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
You better start listening to the Better in Green podcast. You will not regret it. Trust me, trust me, trust me. And hey, I'm Dean Blandino.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? To Better in Green, eh? Listen in and cash out. That's what it's all about. Come on, let's make cash now. We always on spot and we cover old spot from the bottom to the top, hey. Shout out to Ethan, shout out to Wyatt, shout out to Ben. Welcome, welcome to our podcast, Better in Green.